And we are live again. Wrestle Purist live, hosted by myself and Joe Hulbert here on a Friday afternoon. And it's been a very busy week, man, and especially it's been a busy day today. Busy, busy morning, busy morning really. So, morning for those in the US. Late, it's going into the evening now in the UK. But anyway, very busy nonetheless. Got a lot to get into, and we're going to get into as much of it as we can. But first things first, please like, subscribe, send any super chats, any questions, any takes, any opinions, anything like that. We'll get into them as soon as we can. And turn on the post notifications. Hope everyone's doing good. Same with my fellow co-host, Joe Hulbert. What's going on?
Nothing much, mate. I've been a lot less busy than you. You have to actually track all this stuff. It's been seems to be very eventful on your side, but I will say that our post show went a little long last night. I think it's fair to say after the flagship. So I'm feeling that a little bit, but otherwise I'm okay, mate.
Yeah, we did. We got kind of got carried away, didn't we?
We did,
Especially when three
guys.
of us live here in England, where it's like
Yeah,
silly times. Whilst AO was just kind of chilling, enjoying his evening. like,
it definitely was. We were having fun and we were talking graps, and then I looked at the time and it was like 4:40, and I was like, oh, good God, this is a choice we've made here. But you get what
it
you get.
happens, man. It happens. People are already pointing out that we're quite late today, and it's because, like Joe said, there's a lot to try and piece together today, and I'm still kind of in the process of doing it whilst we're live. So, um, please bear with me, and appreciate those of you who have waited. but, but
Yeah.
yeah, let's dive straight into it. And obviously, there's been a lot of news over the past 24 hours in regards to just simply the Vince McMahon lawsuit that came out last Thursday. But especially the past 12 hours or so, I was saying to Joe whilst we was off the air, it's like everything that came out yesterday with John Laurinaitis, etc. Um, and that today, wake up to the news that a report from Wall Street Journal, Jesus Christ, apologies, people. A report from the Wall Street Journal states that federal prosecutors investigate Vince McMahon sex trafficking allegations. Uh, Authorities have been interviewing women who accuse longtime WWE boss of sexual misconduct. So, quite the huge story to start us off. Um, but yeah, according to the report by Wall Street Journal, federal authorities have been investigating sexual assault and sex trafficking allegations against WWE co-founder Vince McMahon, according to people familiar with the investigation. Prosecutors in New York in recent months have been in contact with women who have accused McMahon of sexual misconduct, the people said. The billionaire resigned last week from the wrestling empire he long ran after former WWE employee Janelle Grant filed a lawsuit accusing him of sexually abusing her and trafficking her to other men inside WWE. McMahon denied Grant's allegations and said the federal probe won't find any wrongdoing. He referred to a statement from last week saying, I intend to vigorously defend myself against these baseless accusations and look forward to clearing my name. WWE didn't respond to requests about the probe or the individual women's allegations. So, yeah, many people probably remember that over the summer,
Mm-hmm.
federal agents executed a search warrant for McMahon's phone. Um, and yeah, they're looking into some pretty, you know, pretty disturbing stuff. Of course, I'm sure pretty much everybody's aware at this point of at least some of it from the lawsuit from last Thursday: rape, sex trafficking, sexual assault, harassment, and all these other kind of things that he's been accused of over the past. When did the Wall Street Journals first started reporting? Like 2021, 2022? Of
2020
course,
summer
long
2022, I think.
accused.
Yeah.
He's been long
Yeah.
accused of some pretty
For
horrific
sure.
things,
Yeah.
But in terms of the getting to the point where we are now, this is kind of where we're at. But yeah, Joe, it's of course it's very serious, a civil lawsuit, you know, but
Yeah.
now of course it's going to kind of a federal level, federal investigation, and we'll see kind of what comes of this. But of course, it's definitely a step up in the severity of what's going on. If you're, in the Vince McMahon camp.
Yeah, certainly. We've we spoke last night about how it's hard to kind of look at this and not expect it's gonna escalate and continue to become bigger and bigger. But I think this information this morning kind of confirmed that, right? In terms of this thing's just getting started. So, yeah, pretty substantial development. And also, as you said, we remember the stories from last summer, and it kind of those being pieced together now. So, yeah, we're just getting started with this one. It seems.
Yeah, there's a lot to get into, of course. Like, there's been quite a lot of coverage outside of the Wall Street Journal as well. Like, there's been some updates of some internal reaction in WWE to the lawsuit and stuff like that in the newsletter. Fight for Selection on WhatsApp did a pretty extensive report of it literally just before we came live. So um, there's a lot to get into regarding all of this. So yeah, like I said, give me one moment whilst I read through
Okay.
this to get it right.
There's a lot, Chris.
Granting at least four of the women named in the grand jury subpoena had entered into settlement agreements with McMahon over allegations of sexual misconduct. Prosecutors have interviewed some of the women, the people said, which of course isn't, when they're conducting interviews, I'm sure there's more than one or two people who have some pretty damaging things to say about Vince McMahon, to be honest, especially as far as as far as all this goes. So, yeah, there seems like they're doing a lot more digging. You know,
Mm-hmm.
we
Yep.
knew from the summer that it could potentially get to this level. Because when things like this come out, you always get kind of the one or two people in the corner who come somewhat dismissive of it. You know, whereas when it goes from civil to federal, it's a very different matter in that case. Although both are of course very serious.
Right.
Fight for
Absolutely.
Select. Fight for Select. Sean Ross Sapp did a free story on their Patreon, and I would definitely recommend people checking it out. And of course, we're going to go into it right now. It literally starts off with saying the Vince McMahon and John Laurinaitis situations are not going away anytime soon. In addition to lawsuits, federal investigations were revealed for the former WWE owner and his long-time crony Laurinaitis. Fight for Select was told earlier this week by long-time employees that they personally expected McMahon to be eventually charged because, quote, if the feds raided Vince's phone and got his phone, they'll almost surely find something. Fightful has spoken with a number of people within the industry, at least one of which claims they know more people involved. They've been contacted by reporters, attorneys, and the like already, and have indicated that if the additional names involved aren't identified, they'll do it themselves. Um, that's
That was,
quite
yeah.
the
I didn't
that's quite
understand
the
that wrinkle of it. The
you
thing
know.
about doing it themselves, that was kind of jarring to me. But yeah, that was the only that stood out when I read it. But yeah, that's again, you mentioned the Fightful story was a pretty substantial one. It was, right. There was quite a bit of detail in there. So
We still got some more to go through.
go for it.
You know. Um, Yeah, I'll go through the rest of it, and we'll come back to that part of it, and we'll go into a little bit more of it. Fightful has spoken with multiple mainstream outlets that are looking to navigate the wrestling landscape and collect information, and we've provided some of that to them upon request. A long-time employee of WWE said that they don't even believe that this lawsuit is the worst of it. Quote, pointing to higher settlements, Fightful can confirm that other potential victims have been identified and contacted by attorneys and media outlets to see if they want to take action. Laurinaitis himself has turned on Vince McMahon in what one person who referred to themselves as a longtime former friend of Laurinaitis called, quote, rats jumping off of the sinking ship, end quote. Laurinaitis' attorney has reached out to several people in the industry in what many believe is his team trying to find allies or find out who was talking to who to help gauge his best options moving forward. There's still speculation over the source of the original Wall Street Journal leaks, with some thinking it could have been Grant and others believing it was high up in WWE. It was also noted that the Wall Street Journal was able to contact names that many would not have been publicly aware worked for WWE. It is believed that TKO became very aware of the mess on their hands after the merger, and one source believes that they would have handled the rollout much differently had they been aware of something like this was imminent. However, they were aware as of last week when Vince McMahon was present at the New York Stock Exchange regarding the Netflix deal.
Yeah.
No talent that we spoke to have had a wide talent meeting or claim that they've been briefed on the situation at hand. Instead, the reaction that we're hearing is that it appears that higher ups want to move past Vince McMahon and put him in the rear view. There are talent we've heard from that believe Vince McMahon is delusional enough to try and work his way back into some kind of role. However, it has been reiterated to several talents that Vince McMahon was done and he has no path to returning to the company. WWE is largely attempting to dissociate. Though Brock Lesnar was not identified in the lawsuit, he was referenced. Since then, his creative has been halted. He was not brought into Tampa, did not work the Royal Rumble, is not working Elimination Chamber against Dominic Mysterio as planned, or working Gunther at WrestleMania as planned. There are no creative plans at play for Brock Lesnar at this moment. It was relayed to Fightful that this doesn't mean we'll never see him again, as that situation isn't as cut and dry as others. Quite extensive.
Yeah.
Very
There's a lot there.
yeah, man. Really informative
The
report, Sean.
Absolutely, yeah. The report was very well done. There was that part, and we talked about this before we went live about the part about maybe things would have been handled differently or presented differently if they knew. And then it was like, however, it's like that stuff's always kind of hard to take at face value, honestly, right? Like it's just, I don't know. That you can sense there is like a real effort to distance. To me, anyway, you can sense there's an effort to distance the company from Vince.
Mm.
Whether that's like fair or unfair will be saying that. I think the more we find out about the details of the story, the more we'll know. We know that the lawsuit was about the company's culture surrounding Vince, and that's always
Yes.
important to kind of keep note of here, even before we get more into the details themselves. So yeah, it's as for Brock, I unfortunately do think that that kind of last part there about maybe like it's not saying this forever necessarily. I
Mm-hmm.
think way wrestling generally works, that's what will come to fruition when it comes to him. Now, we're talking about this very close to the story coming out, right? So like we don't know how it's going to develop in terms of Brock's part in it and so on and so forth. But as of right now, it feels like something they're going to try to let people kind of just forget about with Brock, and then they'll circle back to it. Hopefully, I'm wrong on that, and they're taking it very, very seriously, and we won't see him again. But I'll kind of believe that when I see it, or in this case, don't see it. Like it's just the way wrestling generally works is people will forget, and that's how wrestling promoters have often operated, sadly. So I know we've discussed Brock quite a bit in that. You think you're more confident, right? That this is actually going to be the last we see of Brock.
I think so. I think it's also, and obviously, of course, with things that are starting to come out and him being referred to, I know he hasn't been outright named in the lawsuit or anything like that just yet, other than the Wall Street Journal report. Um, but I think this is just kind of pushed him further out the door anyway. I didn't think he was long for WWE regardless anyway, because one, because of his age, and two, I don't think this regime regards him as important as Vince McMahon did.
Yeah,
Um,
I agree. I agree with that.
if anything, you could even argue that he could be a little bit of a hindrance on booking in that sense, because
Hmm.
there's a certain way you have to present him. You can't just throw Brock into the mid card. Like you can't, you just can't do that.
Right.
So, um, you know, I think this is maybe just edged him even further out the door than
Hmm.
already, because I don't think he was like. I don't think anyone thinks that Brock Lesnar's been 100% committed to wrestling for
Right.
pick how
I
many years you want, like so.
Yeah, I just think I do think it's telling that like when we have the Brock conversation, we both inevitably discuss what he means to them at this point as a wrestling asset, which I think then that kind of is eye opening in terms of how we still perceive the way they're going to handle this, generally speaking, right? It's like you're not sure you'll see Brock again, and a big part of the reason why is you're not sure the regime was desperate to be keeping Brock around anyway, right? And it's like
Hmm.
really that shouldn't even be a factor, right? But unfortunately, wrestling has
Yeah.
trained us that it absolutely is, and so yeah, he is definitely with Brock. It was definitely different with him when the regime switched. And that may, as you said, that may make it more so that he's not around ever again. Um, that's, I mean, I think it's hard to argue that being the right outcome. Because that should absolutely be the case, right? So
Hmm. Well,
hopefully so. Hopefully you're right.
yeah, it's been reported multiple places that he's been removed from creative plans. Of course, as I just mentioned, Sean's reported it. PW Insider reported last night that Brock Lesnar has been pulled from the WWE 2K Supercard digital collectible game. Sources familiar with the matter have said that we should expect to see Lesnar downplayed, if not outright removed, as he was in the Supercard game, as much as possible going forward by 2K and potential other licensees. So yeah, they're
Yeah.
already kind of, I believe, also earlier. Sean as well before the longer report about Vince and stuff did just straight up report that Brock has been removed from all creative plans. And then what else? I believe Wrestling Observer newsletter. There are no plans at this time to use Brock Lesnar, given his star power. Saying this is forever is probably foolish, but it's likely not going to be any time soon. So there are definitely obviously some sources within WWE that are kind of never say never about it. But
Right.
again, it's like how desperate do you think Brock is to even be coming back anyway as well?
Yeah,
You
I
know.
just wrestling's grimy, and if they need a rating, it's unfortunately we've been trained to expect them to do them, the, to do that
Mm.
kind of thing. Again, and when I say that, I don't co-sign it. I don't think he should be back.
No, of course not.
I'm, yeah, anyone who's a star, I'm always hesitant to believe they'll be gone because wrestling is like, there is very little suggestion that we should have faith in the moral compass of these people. So to me, it's like,
Yeah.
again, it's like, I hope you're right. I think it is encouraging that he's been taken out of that game. Like, it's like there's actually stuff going on in that regard, because sometimes they would just ignore it, right? I think, like we've discussed, there's definitely a different approach to this from the prior regime. I think he'd have just been in the Rumble. That's encouraging, certainly, and tells you like that's a good sign in terms of how seriously they're taking it. But it still has been just a week, so we'll see if it's something that sticks.
Yeah. Just to add on to it as well, kind of WWE. What would you even call it? You can't say disassociate him because he's still under contract there. Do you know what I mean? So,
Yeah,
but for whatever it's worth, WWE Shop has placed 99% of all merchandise related to Brock Lesnar on discount sale. In speaking to WWE sources today, it was said that going forward, Lesnar is quote off the table from all creative pitches. That's according to PW Insider as well. So, yeah, man, I think potentially, of course, more than ever, this, is
yeah,
possibly the end of Brock Lesnar's time at WWE at least. So, well, we're just same with the lawsuit and same with everything else. You just kind of got to wait and see what twists and turns it takes because it's been a week and one day and it's already took a couple. So
absolutely.
it's a wait and see basis, and we'll try the best to try to keep all you guys up to date with those things in particular. Take a little break for a couple of super chats. Please keep them coming, people. Appreciate those that have been sent so far. We've only got a couple, but going to get straight into them. Showtime Spurs, $5. Appreciate you as always. Everything that I've seen today tells me WWE is in fact not doing quote everything possible in creating a better environment for the future. Yeah, that not the best quotes from Triple H coming from the Royal Rumble presser.
It was
So
what was the thing he said too before he said that? He said like, "I'm going to give you the most." Remember the way he framed it? Was, "I'm going to give you the most general response possible." He said something like that to that effect. It was like it was that whole thing was baffling. I know you and Ibu spoke about on it was like last Sunday the show, right? But yeah, that was one of many lowlights, unfortunately.
yeah, not just not good. I don't think I've seen one person. You know, even in like the few like lunatics that you see on Twitter, because you always see lunatics on Twitter defend anything. Well, not defending anything, but like call out anything. It's like none of these people are saying that like what he said was sweet. They're just more excusing why he had
Yeah,
such a
like what was he
nightmare out
supposed to
there.
say?
Yeah.
Yeah, that kind of thing. And it's like, again, you guys discussed it, and I think everyone's given their opinion at this point. But the whole thing of what is he supposed to say is like they just completely avoids and ignores the obvious that he didn't have to say what he said, right? Like it was very, 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 very strange, and he actively went in directions that no one asked him to and no one needed him to, and made himself look
Mm,
worse. It was baffling.
So Jizzle, appreciate you as always. $5. What did Levesque, Khan, and Steph know, and when did they know it? That's the question that media and fans should be demanding an answer to right now. Yeah, man, it's a very important question, and I'm sure it's something that will definitely probably come out. In as this continues to kind of unfold. So because of course it's a very important factor because WWE is part of the lawsuit, as Joe mentioned. It's
Yeah.
more kind of the culture around WWE, not just Vince McMahon, not just Vince and John Laurinaitis. WWE is part of the lawsuit as well. So, of course, all the executives and stuff may get named in some capacity. Whether it's wrongdoing or not is obviously it's up to court of law or whatever it goes to. So, yeah, we'll see how it all unfolds. Masson 84 199, appreciate it as always. 2024 prediction: one last money grab by Brock Lesnar in PFL. Yeah, I wouldn't. Don't know
No,
about
that's
2024, but
yeah. But as a guess for saying he may do, that's very much feasible. Yeah,
yeah,
absolutely, I agree.
yeah. All right then. So the Observer newsletter was quite interesting today in the sense that I kind of like reactions from people in WWE, some direct quotes and stuff, although obviously not named, the people. Some people have been doing a lot of speculation of who or when these quotes were said. We're not going to speculate on who said what,
Right.
and I guess, doesn't mean not gonna ban anyone from doing it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll get straight into it. I'm gonna go in the order that we've got it on our Twitter page. So, regarding Stephanie McMahon, it was denied that Stephanie McMahon leaving WWE when she first took a leave of absence was due to Janelle Grant's situation and her finding out about it. But her leaving the second time was because Vince McMahon returned, which I think a lot of people kind of. Obviously, the first part will always be up to speculation. Maybe it will come out in a lawsuit or whatnot. Um, but as far as the second part, I think that's pretty much everyone assumed that anyway, because she literally
Yeah.
resigned like 48 hours after Vince McMahon came back.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's felt complicated for some time now, right? It really has. So I don't think anyone's surprised by that kind of confirmation because you said that was the immediate assumption in that particular case. So
Mhm. Mhm. And of course, when she found out if that was the reason she first took some absence, like I said, maybe that will come out in the coming months and maybe years. Who knows how long this will go on? I think Joe, you've said it at some point this week that it's gonna be messy. A lot of people
yeah,
have said it's gonna be a bloodbath. It's gonna, but it is at least gonna be messy. Like even going back to that Fight for Select report, kind of like what we stopped on at first about like how someone said if the additional names involved aren't identified, they'll do it themselves.
yeah,
In a
that I didn't
situation
understand.
as in a situation like this, I don't know if it's like people, I don't know, running to Twitter or whatever it is to like name people. It's I don't know, man. When there's actual investigations and stuff going on, I don't know.
Yeah,
It could get very messy in that regard in terms of people trying to like carry out justice themselves and stuff by trying to out people and stuff like that. Then, um, you know, but of course, if people have done wrong, they deserve to be outed. But it could get messy in how it's done. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. Again. It's I don't know what the kind of specific intention of it. Just it read strangely, right? That part of that
Yes.
story read like it was kind of jarring. And it's important to note like when we talk about being getting messy or being a blood bowl or whatever phrase we use, it's like all of this is very, very necessary if there's going to be any attempt to
Yes.
improve the culture in pro wrestling and in WWE specifically. Because again, that is the thing we're discussing here, right? That's the core here is it's a cultural problem, and that's why I think it will get as kind of um, messy again using that word like that's why I think it will get so much that way is because I think there's so many different people here that could potentially get pulled into this thing. It's because we were talking about it before we were on the air, but like there's allegations against Vince going back decades. You know, 3 decades, 4 decades almost. Like it's so yeah. There's this one's there's going to be a lot of different moving pieces. I think there already is. So I think that's pretty clear.
Yeah, definitely. And I'd say this has been the one. This quote that was in the newsletter has been the one that people have been most speculating about. Like, who do you think said this? And like I said earlier, we're not going to speculate who we think said it, but we'll still obviously give you guys the quote. The quote from the Wrestling Observer newsletter from, quote, one of the biggest company stars of the modern era, end quote, regarding the Vince McMahon lawsuit and who knew. And it heavily implies Triple H. Quote, he's the fucking cerebral assassin, best politicking dude in history, literally wormed his way from a green entry level wrestler into a still average wrestler, absolute top of the office executive. You think he doesn't pay attention to what's going on around him? Think he did that without knowing every little thing everywhere in that company, yet somehow this slipped past his radar? Question mark. The thing about that place is if TKO starts cleaning house, they're going to show up with a bucket and some Lysol and then realize the shit's in the walls and the floorboards. They're going to have to bring the whole sledgehammer because that shit is going to turn into a demolition job down to the foundation. Sledgehammer pun not intended, end quote.
I must say I was stunned that was actually in the Observer. I got to be completely honest in saying that. Like, that was a pretty wild quote to just be like in the midst of this, you know.
Mm-hmm.
There is, much reason to be very doubtful of Paul Levesque or whoever else. But it is one of those things of like you have to be careful until it. You don't want to take that leap and when something's as severe as this. Is it a big leap? No. You have every reason to doubt what he did and didn't know. I personally doubt it very, very much. But it's not a step I'm personally like rushing to take because we don't know right now. And it's way too severe to be loose with it. And that's why I was surprised that was in there, me personally. But I don't know.
Yeah, I pretty much co-sign agree with where you are with it. To be honest, I was quite when I was reading it, I was like, how what am I reading right now? You know, like
Right. It's just, yeah. And again, that doesn't mean you should like have faith that Triple H is innocent or whatever else.
oh
That's
no,
not
it's
what
not from
it's
that. It's more just so like a quote like that.
it's such
I
a
don't know.
blunt quote and it has like such specific phrasing and it's just, yeah. I would have, again, I ain't here to tell Dave how to do his job clearly, but like I thought it was kind of crazy putting the observer. I'm just gonna leave it at that. That's probably the best way I can explain my view on it.
In terms of other reactions throughout WWE, in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it says one WWE star noted that reading the Vince McMahon lawsuit was emotionally scarring, noting that the sad fact is that everyone in the company was striving for Vince's love and approval, and how devastating reading the suit was to have thought that and worked for someone who in the end didn't care about their talents, with a much shorter quote saying, Vince made so many of us feel small and awful, we all had to obey his abuse in order to keep our jobs.
That's just awful.
Of
Both of
course,
those.
yeah.
Just and that's kind of the amount of wrestlers we admire that have had like these kind of sort of complex even before it got this kind of thing spiraled to this degree, like it's always been strange the way different wrestlers talk about Vince, right? And I think those quotes kind of like speak to that a little bit and capture that, and like how often talent would speak of him as a father figure. It's all very, very. It's been straight. It's been like kind of unsettling to listen to for a long time. But I think for talent, it must be like awful if you had that
Yeah,
relationship with him, right? Because like how many people have worked there? I'm sure different people had different dynamics with him, different interactions with him.
yeah, of
And those
course.
quotes kind of, I hadn't even really thought about that part of it. Those quotes kind of shine a light on that. It's brutal.
Yeah. Um, but yeah, to kind of, I guess, on top of the Fight for Select reporting, I think not sure if I've seen a PW Insider report, but basically, according to the newsletter today, according to one WWE main roster star, nobody has talked to them about the Vince McMahon lawsuit situation from management, other than to tell them that Vince won't be back. Instead, they were told about how successful the Royal Rumble was and how big the new Netflix deal is. So yeah, there hasn't been like a all staff meeting or anything like that.
No.
It seems that the only mentions of it have been the company wide email sent out by Nick Khan and of course, you know, them shooting down the motion of that he may be coming back. you know, but they haven't
Yeah.
like addressed it. So it seems, according to reports. So I know Shawn Michaels was asked if he's had a chance to like talk with the talent, and he was just like, oh, it's something that everyone's aware of, and it's like, it's
Yeah. That again kind of goes back to that like that sense that their approach to it is very much Vince is gone, and that's that, right? Like that again kind of
that,
speaks
yeah.
to that to me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough. But even if that is the thing, it's like still address that full on. Like this
Absolutely.
is,
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
what I mean.
I don't think
Like we
that's
know
right.
you're
I'm
aware
just
of this,
yeah.
and this is our stance on it, and we're gonna try and move past it. So
Oh,
do you know what I
I should
mean?
be clear in saying that that approach that we're speaking of, I'm not saying is like a good or right one. It just feels like what they're doing. You know, it's like that's the way it's felt. You know, for most of the last week. I think that's kind of ridiculous considering how broad the suit was. But again, that seems to be the way it's being approached internally. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's
feels like it
pretty.
should have been addressed pretty thoroughly with talent to
Yeah.
me. But
Even with WWE being like the way that like the fan perception of it is, and like the big corporate company, blah blah blah. The evil company, the this and that. Like, even I'm quite surprised that that hasn't been something that they've done. Vince
yeah,
has resigned, man. Like, if he resigned under normal circumstances, I'm sure it would have been addressed. Do you know what I mean? Like, if he just retired again, like actually retired this time, like, or whatever it was, um, I'm sure they would have addressed it how you would expect them to address it. So them being, it's just weird. It's weird.
this is what I'm saying. It's the
It must be
same.
so weird for the employees and staff. Just kind of everyone's walking around like with this little. I mean, obviously they're all talking about it, but from a management like
The approach
level,
is like it feels like it's business as usual because he doesn't work here, and it's like it's just it is strange. It's kind of baffling to me. That'd be the approach, but yeah, that's the way it feels, right? I mean, that was like directly what Triple H's kind of rare it was at the press conference was just like, look what we're doing as a business. So I guess
yeah, definitely have to question the what we're seeing in those reports in terms of like just the transparency with talent and stuff. Um, if you do want to leave it in your review, you'd want to get off on transparent footing with your employees and your staff and your talent and
yeah,
anyone else who's potentially involved with the company. So um, yeah, definitely work to do on their behalf in terms of as far as
lots,
that goes.
yeah,
Definitely a
lots.
lot. Um, but yeah, that's I think. As another thing I wanted to stop on was the well, we did already kind of stop on it, but you saw the TK that it's believed that TKO were aware of the mess on their hands after the merger. It's like,
Yeah,
yeah,
I rolled my eyes at that. Not because of Sean's report, but like because he's just representing the viewpoint. But the thing about like we'd probably handle things differently. Anyway, here he is next to The Rock last week. It's just like, yeah, I think you're going to get a lot of that in terms of people that do business with WWE of sort of like, well, we didn't know about the Vince thing, and now Vince is gone, so we proceed. Like we spoke about last night, the Slim Jim thing. Like, I'm glad Slim Jim made their initial stance because that clearly, accelerated things. But as soon as Vince resigned, they put the statement out there. It was like, we're entering the Royal Rumble and like playfully re-engage with it. And it's like, that to me is a concerning precedent. And again, I'm glad they did anything at all because many of the sponsors didn't do anything, right? But I do think everyone needs to be wary of that kind of like general attitude of Vince is gone back to, back to the usual business as
yeah,
usual.
definitely, it definitely would have been more encouraging to see more of the sponsors do a bit more of a power play in that regard,
Yeah,
because it's just like, do they want to be associated with a company that's potentially like rotten at the core? It's it's a weird one, and obviously, hopefully, as more things come out, there will be more pressure from sponsors if it is needed. Do you know what I mean? Which at this point, like Joe said at first when Slim Jim initially pulled out of the Royal Rumble, it was like this is an encouraging step as far as WWE sponsors are concerned, because of course they want to know what's going on before sponsoring them and throwing millions of
Mm.
dollars at this company. Um, but as Joe said as well, like as soon as it's like, oh, Vince is gone, problem gone. So well, that's not
Yeah,
quite what the lawsuit says. So
exactly. And again, that's not us, suggesting that we do know who does and doesn't know. The point is, no one does, right? And
that's
it's like
that's
until
the point. Yeah.
that's it, like that's the key. Because I think that's important. Also, it's like anyone who's vaguely skeptical is getting put into this, like they're getting framed a certain way, and it's like no, like you absolutely should. If you read the suit, you should leave it skeptical about anyone who's been involved in that company. Like it's not. We don't know anything. That's the point. Until we do, there's no reason to be like, well, everything's fine. Vince is gone. That's the opposite, really, of the reaction should be. So, yeah,
Yeah. So yeah, I guess in terms of bullet points, Vince McMahon is under federal investigation. John Laurinaitis has, I guess, turned on Vince McMahon, and he's also, according to the Fightful report, um, he's reached out to several in the industry in what many believe is him trying to find allies. Um, what else have we got? There's people who think this isn't the worst of it. There's people in WWE who thinks that he'll eventually get charged. Brock Lesnar, he is out of creative. All his stuff on the WWE shop's getting discounted. He's been pulled out of one of the virtual video games, for the one that's on your app, which you can download on your phone, I think. So yeah, there's a lot of moving parts going on, and I guess we'll, like I said, as more stuff comes out, we'll try and go over it as best as we can. So that's kind of where we're at with the reporting regarding the Vince McMahon lawsuit, the reaction within WWE. There's been a lot of that today, but of course, the big thing being that Vince McMahon is under federal investigation for sex trafficking, which is just
yeah,
what an insane start to the year it's been. What an insane start it's been.
yeah. This is I actually hate. I was about to say this is like obviously one of the biggest wrestling stories ever in motion, but I actually hate referring to it as a story. It's like because it's just it really feels too glamorous for it. It's like
It's
it's really
not a
just
it's not a
disgusting.
professional wrestling story. It's a it's
It
a
is a
national
news story.
it's a
Yeah.
national
No,
international news story.
it is
It's
absolutely a news story. I'm just saying that it almost feels, it almost doesn't warrant that term, right? Because it's actually just like a revolting
it's
reveal of
very
a lot of
real.
things that,
Yeah,
that's it. It's real. That's the thing. It's real. But
it's very real.
yeah, it's gonna be. I mean, it's gonna be it's gonna be something that's central to almost, any of this wrestling conversation comes secondary to this. It's a tragic thing. It's horrible. So yeah, and as we've said, in the least this kind of glamorous way, it is just getting started. This thing is going to be with us for a while, it seems. So we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, and that'll be probably the stance that most of us will have for the coming weeks, months,
Yeah,
and like I said earlier, potentially years. This could go on for a long, long time. So just kind of have to wait and see. Okay.
absolutely.
All right, so coming back to some super chats. Keep them coming, people. Like I said, Showtime Spurs, $5. Appreciate you as always. Will Wrestle Purists be covering SGW Uganda wrestling in the future? That match ruled. Have you seen any of this, Joe?
No, no, I have not.
I'm gonna have to pull it up and we'll play it a bit later in the show. One sec, just make sure I remind myself.
All right.
I shouldn't
Okay,
get
that's something.
copyright striked, I don't think. Not for this. Richard Jr., $5. Appreciate you. Tonight is WWE SmackDown. Which matches are announced for tonight's Friday Night SmackDown? I'm not sure. Obviously, we're doing a weekend preview, so I guess I'll quickly blitz through the card or something if you need me to. Phantom FTW, £2. Appreciate it. This isn't one bad apple, it's a rotten orchid. I mean, Like always said, it isn't just Vince, it isn't just Laurinaitis, it's WWE. All of them are under fire in this lawsuit, you
Yeah.
know. So Hush 499, appreciate it. This might be far fetched, but do you think they consider a true rebrand, new name, and everything if they clean house? WWE is too synonymous with Vince now. I don't think they'll do that.
I think I would doubt it, but I do think it's important to note like it depends how much this suit, how many different pieces come together and how this story develops. I think that's
Of
important to say
course.
because there's absolutely versions of this where it gets bad enough where that's saying that it's unlikely to me because that brand is strong and that's what's most important to the world of WWE. But um, it's more likely the front office gets cleared out, I think, than an actual rebrand, to be honest. But
Yeah.
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 But again, I'm not going to say that for sure because I don't know how bad this is going to get. So
Yeah, no, none of us know. You
exactly.
know,
No.
we're in the same position as
Mm-hmm.
our audience. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
people listening to this now, we don't know anything more than you. Like, I haven't really been reaching out for too much like reaction about it.
Yeah.
Um, so we're literally in the same position as you as far as kind of the lawsuit thing. Obviously, the only thing we do is the shows and kind of go through what's came out reportedly, and obviously the lawsuit last week. So, we're in the same position as you guys. Really, it's all
Yep.
just guesswork at this point. Um, but yeah, as far as my guesswork, I don't think they would because everything's so like it's the brand. Like Netflix have bought the brand, and
Yeah. That's
everywhere's
the
bought
yeah.
the brand WWE. So it's like I think the company would literally like crumble to the ground before they would. Do you know what I mean?
It would
Before they
take a
would,
lot. Yeah.
yeah.
And again, I mean, a lot is really not really the right way to put it. But
I
yeah,
mean,
it would
there's so many possibilities with this lawsuit. Who knows?
exactly.
It
Exactly.
could literally crumble the whole company to the ground.
Yeah.
Obviously, like you said in your super chat as well, that may be far fetched, but who knows at this point?
Yeah.
Who
Mm-hmm.
actually knows? Because I don't. So,
Right.
hush again, 499. Man, it truly sucks to the public eye. Pro wrestling is tied with Vince, and now the genre will be tainted for a long time because of this. Yeah, yeah.
It's
Vince
been
McMahon
that
is
way,
synonymous
honestly.
with
Yeah.
just pro
It's just
wrestling.
it's why I never ever like get the. I mean, clearly we're doing this. We all love pro wrestling. You're watching this, you love pro wrestling. That's why I can never ever do the big like sell job when folks dismiss wrestling as being like trash because like wrestling is. It's like I love it, but why would you think anyone wants to see any different? Whenever they hear about wrestling, it's it's scandal or horror or tragedy or it doesn't deserve any better than that. Like
It's
wrestling
like Dark
is it.
Side of the Ring on like
Yeah,
season 6. You know,
wrestling.
they've
Yeah,
probably got another
wrestling.
10 seasons, 20 seasons. Like
Exactly.
it
It's earned that
never ends,
reputation,
man.
unfortunately. Like those of us that love pro wrestling, we know what the actual art form itself is capable of and how powerful it can be as a piece of entertainment. But as an industry, it's disgusting. It deserves the reputation it has. I hate to
Hmm.
say that, but it's just the truth.
Yeah, yeah. It's not exactly an undeserved reputation, like you said. That's an 84, 199. Appreciate it as always. I'll never forget Oracle's rant on Triple H as a worker. He's been on many rants, Oracle of Wrestling.
That
Sometimes they're
was
not even rants; it's just dismissive speeches. You know.
yeah, that was so, it's a slightly lighter subject, but what happened was it was after Triple H retired, and we were just doing it was supposed to be a short segment on it on the late night grin. I said to Oracle, "What do you think Triple H's legacy is?" And he went in. He did a 30-minute monologue where he broke down every year of his career and this was bad and that was good. That was a true an Oracle moment there for the ages for sure. But, yeah,
There's been many of them over the years.
it has, mate.
Huncho 499, appreciate it as always. Fans wanting Stephanie back is sad. Resigning doesn't make her quote good guy. It actually shows she knew bad stuff happened and tried to sin instead of helping. Of course, that would just be speculation at this point. Of course, there's always going to be some assumption that all the executives were aware to some extent. But until we know, is probably best we don't kind of just like throw that sort of stuff around.
Yeah,
And that's not me being like, oh, I hope she's innocent, or I hope Triple H is innocent, or I hope Nick Khan's innocent. It's that we don't know. So it's like to come on our platform and then be like, trying to point fingers and stuff like that would be irresponsible of us. So, but again, you're of course entitled to your opinion, and so.
Yeah, yeah. That's something we discussed before we went live about just kind of, like I think with a platform like this, there's a responsibility that we have to take a certain distance, right? We don't know. There's just
Mm-hmm.
the story is far too severe for us to just be like, this is what I think. It's not really that place. So yeah.
Yeah, no, and with I guess to talk about more, um, you know, actually this is a wrestling channel. Of course, unfortunately, wrestling is clouded in all this dark cloud, as it's been called many times over the past week or so. But there has been other wrestling news as well. Of course, we did start with the PW, with all the reports on Brock Lesnar from PW Insider, from Fightful, stuff like that. So Brock Lesnar's not coming back anytime soon. A lot of people are calling for like Chad Gable to take the comfort spot at Mania. A lot of people are talking for like Braun Breaker to come in and do something with him as well. Um, obviously he opens up some opportunities for some of the other talents and stuff like that. So we'll kind of see how it plays out. I know Smackdown this evening. There's PW Insider reported earlier today that Tiffany Stratton is scheduled to be at the tapings. Who knows if she'll be on the TV? But I don't think anyone would be too surprised if Tiffany Stratton's
Right.
been made the travel to the building, that she'll be on the show. Trick Williams, Bron Breakker, Carmelo Hayes have all been reported to be at the show as well. In terms of going back to the super chat from earlier, I don't actually know what matches have been announced yet. So I'll be expecting to see all four of them, and all four of them are people that, well, besides Trick, because Trick still does have some development to do, and he probably shouldn't be straight up called up at this moment in time.
Yeah.
But four people that probably long term do have quite long rosters, long futures on the main roster.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I mean, none of them are surprising. I mean, I agree with you on Trick. I would actually give Trick a run as NXT champ and let him have that
Yeah,
experience, and
100%.
that'd be great for him. But none of them are surprising call ups if that's what they are. But I would say interesting time for it though, right? That's the only reason I wouldn't be surprised if these aren't like substantial debuts or whatever else, because it is kind of a strange time with Mania like so close, right? Like at this point, you're really focusing in like what's our Mania direction. So that's the only thing I would say in terms of a Tiffany Stratton, for example. We've felt like she could have gone up for a long time, right? I don't think any of us are surprised by that, but slightly challenging timing. Maybe I'm intrigued if they have something specific up their sleeve they want to do with these talents. So I guess maybe we'll find out tonight.
Yeah, we'll see, because like you said, it is WrestleMania season, so potentially, maybe Bron Breakker or Tiffany, Mello, all of them could end up on. It's a two-night card, and if you want to
Yeah,
make statements with the people coming from NXT, which I think you should absolutely do with Bron especially, and Tiffany, to be honest. Carmelo Hayes, I think, has a lot of star potential as well, but I am actually high on Carmelo Hayes, but anyone who's been a long follower of this channel knows that I've been day one with Tiffany Stratton. Then I think Bron
true.
Breakker is like, I don't know if I'd say he's a generational talent, but he's close. He's a freak, man.
Yeah,
I think he's a special talent. Like I said, generational might be a step too far, but
there's definitely
he's
something like there's like a raw, there's an intangible to him, and it's made him jump off the page immediately. Right, the first time you saw him, it was like whoa. It was very, very encouraging what he looked like in the Rumble. Because sometimes it sounds silly because NXT is the same promotion. There are absolutely wrestlers who come up and they immediately feel different on the main roster, right? Braun came up and it was like to do the Rumble, and he felt, like whoa, it was stunning how explosive that dude was. So yeah, there's the potential of that whole squad is high, it really is.
uh, the live chat has just informed us of something quite important, Joe, that I predicted might have happened whilst we were live.
Oh, Seth Rollins video. Okay, we've got to find out who the comp
We
was
gotta
this
make,
time.
please don't spoil who the comparison is if you know in the chat, because me and Joe have been trying to guess who it is, And for the heavyweight champion side, we've locked in Harley Race.
Yeah.
Who? Come on, Joe. Let's think. I'm trying to like not look at the chat.
Yokozuna.
Yeah, who?
Do you want to be Harley Race or do you want to be Yokozuna? That's my guess.
Yokozuna. I think it will be Lex Luger.
Yeah, you could
I'm
do
gonna go with
Lex.
Lex. All right.
A little
I'm not. I'm
aggressive.
not risking pulling this up on screen like I'm gonna do later with
No.
SGW Uganda because it's WWE. All right, so I'm just gonna do play by play.
Okay, this could. Okay,
Cody
folks,
pointing at the sign.
lock in.
I hope there is a comparison in this. You know,
I haven't looked at the chat. There might not be. I was avoiding spoilers, but the chat may just be telling us there's no comp.
where does your heart lie, Cody Rhodes? Is your heart set on Roman Reigns? All right, he's doing like myself or Roman Reigns now. I think. Oh, this
Oh,
isn't funny.
we
None
needed
of
that
us
as
were
well. We
fun.
needed that.
We
Yeah,
could have got Luger and Harley, man. You know.
yeah,
I'm disappointed, Seth Rollins. You know, do better next
yeah.
time. You know, I was saying to Joe as well. It made me laugh with the Seth comparison videos. How like he didn't save Dusty for the end. Like he went
Dude,
from Dusty to Sid.
the chat actually is like they actually did tell us there was no comp, but we were both avoiding spoilers, so we just missed it.
I
Yeah.
was fired up, man. You know. We got a quick super chat which I'll read out real quick. Caden Lee 499, appreciate you as always. To further confuse Moné, I'll be at Dynamite in Austin next week and Greensboro for Revolution. Bro, he goes all these wrestling shows. He must be like a crypto billionaire or something, you know. To that I'd say put a zero on these super chats. But he's at all these wrestling shows and they're all in like different states and stuff, bro. Like
Yeah.
you can't
I
figure out.
think
I can't even figure out what part of the US he's in. Never mind what state or city he's in.
I want to say that Caden saw me in Chicago at the show too, so that's another
Nah,
one to add to the.
you're messing with me now.
I think Caden like added me and was like, I saw it. Yeah, I think Caden may have been on the bus outside the United Center when everyone was doing the LA Night gimmick, which was a great moment, by the way. I would like to note, but yeah, it was in Chicago. There you go. Caden just said it. Yeah, it's everywhere, brother.
Someone in the chat said that Caden will be at SGW Uganda soon. Hey man, we'll fly him out. Anurag 40 rupees appreciated. When Backball Combat Club invades TMLL doing wild things greater than.
That could be so cool. Can you God Almighty? That'd be cool.
We didn't have a chance to really like get in. Well, we did get into it quite not extensively, but you know, we touched on it yesterday when we was doing the Dynamite review because of course Mox did that promo. You know, like you showed up in our backyard. You better hope and pray that we don't show up in yours. You know, wild thing hitting in Arena Mexico. You know,
It's
I'm
awesome
all
for
in on that idea, man.
like I only watch Samuel when there's like a recommended match that I'm watching for the guide. So like I'm nowhere near as locked in or clued in. But it is really cool that they've got their product at a point where like this is the perfect time for them to be getting new eyes. You know, like it really is actually pretty sweet. That's they've earned that kind of increase in spotlight. And I think there's a chance if something like that happens, you feel like, oh, that'd be a huge deal, right? In terms of like fans that hear a lot about Samuel but don't watch, I feel like that'd be something that will get them to actually tune in. So yeah, very cool.
Ibu's in the chat. He's telling us. I don't know if you guys have covered it yet, but Jacob Fatu is a free agent, which makes sense for Roman pushing for him. No, it makes Roman pushing for him make much more sense now. So those of you who weren't listening to Worldwide on Mondays, you should watch that show. But it was revealed on Worldwide that Roman Reigns is he's a big fan of Jacob Fatu, of course, and someone that he wants to do some work with Joe Hall, but
Yeah,
and
I kind of
as
hate
Ibu said
that.
in the
Like,
chat, but go on.
yeah, I was just gonna say I kind of hate that Ibu's put this out there because it's now one of those things that like I actively want in a way that's gonna, inevitably set me up to be disappointed. That's the only thing. But yeah, the news is that he's a free agent, right? Money. That what we were getting at.
Yeah, he's a free agent. He's a free agent. He's a free agent. And obviously there's been talk within the wrestling communities and stuff that there's complications with signing Jake Fatu, especially if you're one of the top two. But none of it has been like reported in black and white. Sorry, it's never been like fully out there what or if it is the case. So we'll see what
Yeah,
happens with him. We're big fans of him, as we said on Monday, and I mean, if they actually can get his signature and it all works out for him and they can get him on, they can work with him and stuff, then I think he has
especially I mean,
bags and bags of potential, man.
if he came in and inherited Paul Lee as his mouthpiece too, like because Jacob Fatu can talk, but it gives you some credibility, right? If Paul Lee's with you, like there's they used to talk about on MLW, they used to call him the black sheep of the family. And that being a story to tell on TV would be absolute money, right? Like this prestigious wrestling family, and here's the dude who's so crazy. All of them are scared of him, like that. That is blockbuster. I'd love to see that angle play. And again, I don't know if those complications will be an issue. If they are complications, whatever, because you said everyone's
That's what
like
I
always
mean.
like
So
hush hush
everyone's
about it.
yeah, it's just weird.
It's
Like
weird.
no one knows for sure. You know, well, I'm sure some people know for sure, like his friends and some
Yeah,
people in the
but
business
it's
and
not like
stuff like
out there
that
really.
have to know.
Yeah,
But it's like there's a lot of just kind of speculation as like, oh, he did this in his past, or he can't do this, or he can't do that, or da da da. And it's like, because I guess it comes up so much and it gets so much kind of traction for those who are aware of Jacob Fatu is because he's so good that it's like, why is he not at WWE or AEW? That's been the case for a couple of years now, So,
mm-hmm.
um, because yeah, he's a special talent. Like in terms of talent, ability, he can talk as well. Like you said, got a good look. He's just a fucking mean looking Samoan. Like
Yeah.
he's a beast, man. Athletic as fuck, explosive. He's
There
an
is,
animal.
and this is a high praise, and he's obviously not as polished a worker, but there is flashes of what Joe was like when he was young, where you'd kind of do that squint and be like, wait, how big is this fella and what did he just do? Right? Like he can do stuff that's, again, I've said it before, like he wrestles like he's a guy who's had like his skill set maxed out in a video game. It would like, he had a
Yeah,
match with Vikingo at WrestleCade a couple months ago, and they did a spot fest. It's like, what? How is he doing this match? Why is he doing this match for that point? But he's doing it, and he's doing moonsaults, and yeah. There's a lot there for sure.
Hush 199 says just pretend Solo Sokoa didn't exist and give Jacob Fatu his spot. Come on, Solo beat John Cena.
Beat the hell out of him, man. 28 spikes.
With that nerve hold. Whew, whew, whew. No, so obviously, in terms of like the bloodlines enforcer that was sent by the elders, Jacob Fatu, like in terms of a talent, obviously probably would have fit that a bit better, But of course, who knows the reasons why Jacob Fatu wasn't with the company at the time, if he is or isn't going there. And they did have Solo Sikoa, We had Solo Us, We had the street
Yeah.
champion, Solo Sikoa.
My initial solo Sokoa scouting report was like really going well, and it's definitely hit the wall in recent times. It's very unfortunate. There was a while there, Monty, where I really was ahead of the curve on the
It's
solo
hilarious
Sokoa
because
thing.
we've always been split on him, and now we've like, because when you've done your scouting report, I was like, this one, there's something there. I was like, I don't really like in terms of like ability. Like I like his presentation, his look, and even like down to like his voice and things like that. Like he's obviously there is definitely things there with him, but in terms of like his in ring ability and how much I thought he was coming along, I was he wasn't really anything I was getting like excited about. He wasn't someone I was worried about though, but just I wasn't like, oh
Yeah.
my god, he's accelerating right now. Um, so yeah, we was kind of split when you did that initial scouting report, and then I started to come around a bit.
Yeah.
You know,
And now it's gone the other way. And now I'll come around to your side of things. That's wrestling for you, brother. Yeah, that's
it
wrestling.
is literally. But yeah, appreciate your hush for the 199. Keep the super chats coming as we talk a little bit more graps. What else have we got here? So Seth Rollins, he kind of derailed me because I had all my stuff up on my Twitter. So Seth Rollins, you owe me for not doing that, for not doing a comparison that I was desperately waiting for. One set, Wilches and $5. It felt like when Solo was in NXT, he was working better, and now on the main roster, he just works slow. Must be a Roman idea. A Roman idea.
I do. We discussed this on World Bro recently. I do think he is a victim of like he's overproduced. You know, like every single
Yeah.
thing he does is like a calculated. Then you look at the camera. Then you look at your thumb. You know, like I think that's you. If you're a young wrestler, and I know he's not like a super young dude, but he's only been wrestling for what, 4 or 5 years, right? I think I could be wrong on that. But yeah, I do think it's like stifled his development as a worker. But the problem with that is he's also made like crazy money to play that role where he just looks at his thumb. So it's hard to kind of, that's like, it's the biggest role he'll ever play with being real. So it's a worth sacrifice, I guess. Like, look, people can dunk on it and stuff, but the bloodline thing is going to be a part of that, like of the modern, the modern wrestling history. And he'll be able to live off being Solo Sikoa, the enforcer of the bloodline for much of his career, for being real. So you get what you get.
Obsessed.
Ooh.
My God.
Not bad.
Was that Seth freaking Rollins video that you just played there, or was it something else?
No, it was an advert.
Fair.
It was an advert. Apologies.
Right.
WrestleMania. Joe. Match Fan 84 $199. Listen, Fatu would beast with that dual AEW New Japan contract.
Yeah.
Listen, you listen, Mavs fan. Fatu will beast anywhere. He's an animal. Like, no matter where you put him, throw him in Japan, AEW, TNA. He's an animal. He's a damn animal.
Yeah, I agree. There's definitely some matches there that are.
Look at this disgraceful, just lack of knowledge of his friends from Ibuya Wrestle Furies.
It's a shame.
$4.99. Has Joe seen the Seth vignettes? What do you think we get up to, Ibu? We've done breakdowns and analysis, and
Yeah, we did predictions and everything, bro. We got like a big board, like it's the whole thing.
We was expecting Harley and Lex Luger today and Yokozuna, but
the Sid thing is still it is unsettling on some level. Like, there's no reason for it, Leave Sid alone, dude. Like, Sid was cool enough that he would be like, I don't want to be the world's champ. I'm going to go play softball. And that always will deserve respect in the great sport of professional wrestling, if you ask me. So,
Big Sid, man. Sid vicious. Hush $4.99, appreciate it. My biggest fear with Jacob Fatu is that they just do the Solo Sikoa Drew McIntyre Clash at the Castle spot to introduce him at WrestleMania against Cody Rhodes, and Big Roll gets another year until Dwayne. It'd
be such a bad idea because for everything we've just said about Jacob Fatu, no one knows who he is in a WrestleMania crowd. They would have no idea. No one in that WrestleMania crowd would be going, my God, the MLW champion has arrived. Like, it would be bad. Yeah. There's definitely versions of this WrestleMania finish. If you heard Oracle's prediction, Monty, for Cody Roman, what he thinks they're going to do? He thinks...
I haven't, and I'm now excited to hear it.
He thinks Solo's going to do a run-in, and then they're going to hit If You Smell, and The Rock's going to run him off, and then Cody will win. And it'll be one of those where Rock is like... It's actually Rock's moment, but Cody gets to win the match. And as soon as he said it to me, it was like... It clicked in my head, and I was like, that sounds I can see that in my head. I can picture it. Very concerning when he comes up with these ideas. Yeah, and like the whole place comes up. Solo does the big sell and looks at the Ram. I was like, oh shit. I can see it, right? Like
he sprints out and blows his knee, It's a clothesline.
He looks at his arm and does the goosebumps thing, he does that where he's like, goosebumps, bro. Because I do think like that finish is... Even if Cody wins without help, that finish is going to be convoluted, right? There's going to be a ref bump, and so there's going to be some sort of shit. There just has to be. It's inevitable. So, Yeah, there's going to be shenanigans, I think.
Speaking of which, it's a good
Yeah.
segue. This is according to Wrestling Observer newsletter. As late as last week, Roman Reigns versus The Rock was not out of play. The Rock wanted it and even said so in media interviews. It was said that he was heavily pushing for it, but at that point, as late as after the Rumble, the plan was for Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns and to do Roman Reigns versus The Rock at some point in the future. Saudi Arabia was talked about for that match from a company standpoint.
It sounds like the company are really keen on this Saudi Arabia pitch for this Rock match, doesn't it? And every
Yeah,
time
because
Dave
it's
talks about it, that's in there.
Yeah, because it's like if you're wrestling promotion, you see, we was talking before we went live about Tyson Fury and Usyk, which obviously is unfortunately postponed off at the moment. But look at the amounts of money involved in that. We've seen a bunch of other boxing and MMA go over there and get ridiculous amounts of money for it. So if you're going to the Saudis as a wrestling promotion, they're already giving you 50 million a year for the shows that you're already doing
Yeah.
there, just because you want to do Undertaker and Kane versus DX on them, or whatever the fuck other stuff they were doing. The fake Yokozuna, all the other stuff they were doing in Saudi. So if you
There's
could go to the
also,
Saudis and be like, we can bring you Roman versus Rock, but we want,
yeah,
what is it, 9 figures, 100 mil? What is it,
there's
9?
also like it's a match big enough that presents a chance to do like a really unique event in terms of something that like you could actually brand that in a very specific way to that match,
Yes.
like greatest wrestling match ever type vibe, like I could absolutely see them branding Rock and Roman as like the biggest wrestling match ever. And have that being the title of the whole thing, like I could absolutely see that.
But it will
You
be
look
in
at
terms of eyes on the product.
right, and it's like how Nick Khan's one of the things he's done is B shows he takes overseas, then they become like kind of A shows in those markets.
Mm-hmm.
That's what this match could be. It's like why waste a SummerSlam? SummerSlam sells itself. We'll make it its own event, So
Yeah.
I think it does. Obviously, the story has been that Rock wants to do it at WrestleMania, but it does feel like there's a lot of money there for it, which is
He's
hilarious.
on the
And
board now.
exactly. It's just, it also feels like there's a chance that this match never happens and we just talk about it forever and ever. I'm not writing that off, especially after you were correct in
Oh,
your guess this
absolutely.
time around. So, yeah.
Yeah, and those of you who don't know, I'll let everyone know. I was right, you know.
You were
You are correct. I was right.
good. I'm
And to
glad you
everyone,
noted that.
anyone who missed my last victory lap, here's not
Yeah.
quite a victory lap, but a victory sprint. I was
Mm-hmm.
right. I told you that The Rock is not wrestling on this side of WrestleMania. You all laughed at me. You all said I was coping. You all thought I didn't want to see The Rock versus Roman, even though I do. You thought I was just coping for Mr. Cody Rhodes. That was not the case. I was just right. You were wrong. Roman versus Cody, main event of WrestleMania night 2. Think we're probably going to get that pretty much confirmed tonight. So, shout out me. Anyway.
Fair. Respect.
Will choose them $5. It's funny how did was crazy over with the fans with his second run as a babyface. Who do you think he was talking about? Sid.
Sid.
It's funny how Sid was crazy over with. Yeah,
Sid
I think that's
was,
what it was.
yeah. Sid would get over wherever he went, man. He wasn't a good wrestler at all. He was very clumsy, but he would
People
always
didn't
go over
care then,
huge.
bro.
Yeah.
People did
Yeah,
not
he
give a
had
fuck back
physical
then about
charisma.
star
He just
ratings and
did.
shit.
It's the entrance. We've said this before, but like the famous Shawn Michaels match from Survivor Series '96. My goodness, I'm getting old. Yeah, that entrance is like the coolest wrestler's ever come off. Like he had serious. His physical charisma was crazy. He always connected with people.
Manson 84, 199, appreciate it. Thoughts on Foley wanting one last death match? Please no. I love you, Foley, but
Yeah,
please
you
stay at
know,
home.
when wrestlers come out and say like they want to have one last match, it very rarely surprises me. But I will admit this actually did surprise me because like Mick is he's been pretty open about physically where he's at. So I was kind of it actually was very surprising to me. He was talking about that.
Yeah.
And I know he was saying like a death match, and he was talking about how the way he described it, he said it would be like a gruesome spectacle. So it sounded like his idea was he was just going to blade. And I don't know if anyone who likes Mick Foley really wants to see him do that. I mean, like I don't know.
Self-mutilation.
Yeah, it's like because he wouldn't, like he can't. There's no way he can bump. So like he would just be bleeding everywhere and laying in barbed wire or whatever the fuck. I don't know. I don't know. It sounded like a really bad idea, but it absolutely feels like it could appear as one of those. You remember the Flair's last match being its own show? Would not surprise me if someone decided to do that.
Please no.
Yeah, cosign.
Will Chisholm, $5. Appreciate it. It is funny at the end of Mania, The Rock, Jey Uso, and Cody just doing the Jey Uso dance with Cody smiling and crying at the same time, holding the title. Yeah, he has to have like the Samoan show closing party with The Rock and the Usos. Cody can't even have his moment, can't let it breathe. God bless. All right, let's talk a little bit of AEW's signings. All right, so those in AEW are cautiously optimistic Kazuchika Okada will wind up there. The WWE side seems to be that they are not going to match the money and take the approach that their position is Okada will want to come there more because they are WWE and Okada is talking with both sides. So yeah, not really too much
Right.
compared to what we were saying, what I was saying yesterday. Also in the newsletter, the plan is to make a big deal out of Mercedes Moné's AEW debut. At one point, the plan was to announce it this past weekend, or at least tease it, but it was moved back. The reason given was not wanting to announce it this week, given all the far bigger news that came out and people wouldn't be focusing on it. So he's standing on that because Sean Rossap basically reported the contrary, saying that like there was never planned to be an announcement of Mercedes Moné this past weekend. And obviously, newsletter as fresh as today, he's standing on it. So
Yeah.
who knows? It doesn't really matter because
Right.
it's just one of those things. I guess if someone wants to ask it at a media scrum or something one day, they can. But but yeah, PW Insider, the expectation from many is that Mercedes Moné is AEW bound. One source believes that Moné is signed and was filming content for AEW earlier this week for usage in relation to her debut for the company. But that was not independently confirmed. So there was talk that she's already filming some sort of footage. I'm seeing a lot of talk saying Zarian said that they're doing TD Garden on the 13th of March.
Yeah.
So I haven't actually seen it myself, hence why it's not been aggregated on the page. Because of course I've been doing this live stream with my good friend Joe, But I haven't seen anyone actually like quote it yet. It's just people saying, "Oh my God, Zarian said," which is always dangerous on wrestling Twitter. So
Exactly.
I will when I get off this, guys. I will try and find the actual quote and I'll get it tweeted. I'll tweet what he actually said. So, because it's bad for him when it, like, say if he didn't say it, like it is happening. Like if he said like I think it might be happening or something, or maybe it'll happen, or this is what I'd do if I was AEW. Do you know what I mean? Then, you know, then people will be like, "Oh, you said this was going to happen." It's like you didn't say it. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah, I mean, we've seen it.
people put words in people's mouths and stuff like that.
It happens. Sometimes I get off the air on Worldwide and I see that it's happened to Ibu, and I think I don't remember him saying that. I was still on the show with him. So it absolutely happens. Certainly, there has been a lot of discussion for since the first week where people actually expected Mercedes might show up. Once that came and went, there has been a lot of discussion that we were headed to some sort of Boston show. Right? I haven't heard what Zarin said. That's been just the kind of the rumor, right? Now you've heard that from a million different places, so I wouldn't be surprised if that's where we're headed here. We discussed last night kind of the way they may brand the show and all that good stuff. So it's kind of a common belief at this point. We'll see if it comes to fruition.
Yeah, we'll see. Of course, will be two huge signings for him. Mercedes, of course, more so for the reasons that we touched on yesterday. Like she brings so many new fans. Like Joe correctly pointed out that, like, of course, Mercedes is a big star, and it's like maybe one of the biggest signings AEW can make in terms of bringing over like new fans. Like a lot of people who maybe not would have given AEW a chance had they not have Mercedes, because they're so loyal to Mercedes as a fan that they'll just watch her wherever she is. Similar in the sense that like CM Punk took a lot of the non-WWE fans back with him for that one night on Raw, and a lot of fans kind of were disappointed by what they were seeing. One of them, he sat right next to me on this stream, but
That was a
You know,
night.
Mercedes definitely has that appeal to her where a lot of people who only watch WWE will be like, fine, this is where I'll make, well, I'll give him a chance, or I'll give him a chance again. They might have watched before AEW went through a bad phase or something like that and start watching, or whatever, you know. So I think she'll bring a lot of new eyes. One of the biggest signings they could possibly make. So, you know,
Absolutely.
we'll see if and when it is the TD Garden on March 13th. Yeah, I did when it kind
Well,
of lives up to the poll I did yesterday, you know. I was like, if they do book the TD Garden and tease Mercedes and Okada, how many seats do you reckon they're selling? I think the most common answer was like seven, about seven, which I think is pretty.
I mean,
We'll see.
right
Any like
now
I
that'd be a
mentioned
yeah.
yesterday, I don't know how well Mercedes as because we don't know, and that's not me saying I don't think she can. It wouldn't surprise me if she sold 10. Do you know what I mean? But it also wouldn't surprise me if she only sold like 4 or 5 because we don't know her record as a ticket mover because she was never in a position in WWE to be a ticket mover. The only time where it's really like played like you can really point to her as a ticket mover was Battle in the Valley selling out as quickly in advance as it did. It was like 4 or 5 weeks in advance that sold out. But that's a tough sample to use because it's such a small building. It was only like 3,000 people or less.
If they hint it as strongly as many folks believe they will, I think it could catch fire. You know, it's one of those
I
build it
hope
and
it
they will
does,
come
man.
situations. Like if they, I think Sting's obviously a unique case, but I do think it shows you how traditional conventional promotions still can work. How long ago did they start talking about that Sting show? You know, it's like, yeah, man, it still works. Like beat people over the head with that stuff. If they have a similar approach while a different circumstance with Mercedes, I think it could catch fire. Hopefully it does, as you said. I mean,
I'd
it'd be
love to
very
see it,
cool.
man.
Yeah, it'd be very cool.
I'd love to see like Mercedes like answer that like question of like, yeah, I'm a ticket mover. You book me on your show, I'm moving 1,000
Right.
tickets immediately, sort of thing. You know, um, yeah, it would be really cool. But like I said, she's never been kind of positioned to be the ticket mover of a promotion. You know, so the sample size is basically non-existent of her having the opportunity to do so. Although we do know she does draw in other aspects in terms of all the New Japan World subscriptions, the quarter hours when she was in WWE, she always
Yeah.
drew well. So she's a draw in
Merchandise.
some aspects.
Yeah.
Yeah, merchandise. She's a draw in a lot of aspects, but ticket moving is a different thing as well. So
Yeah.
anyway, Laser Beam 199, WrestleMania 20, Triple Threat, WrestleMania 30, Triple Threat, WrestleMania 40. Cody Rhodes versus Roman Reigns. Oh.
Also triple threat though, I think.
Trust the
Yeah.
process, 34, 499, appreciate it. I know the internet wrestling community script says I'm supposed to be like, yes, rankings, AEW back. But to be honest, they're unnecessary, limit creative, bring dumb discourse, and gotta go. I mean, we picked them apart last night. I don't know if you watched our Dynamite review, but like, we definitely wasn't Yas rankings. I'm not saying you're saying that we did, but yeah, we kind of picked apart some of the negatives already. You know? So,
Yeah.
to save us doing it again, appreciate the super chat.
Absolutely.
Um, right. Is there anything else? We spoke about Mercedes. We spoke the unfortunate news of Vince and Brock. We spoke Okada. We spoke Seth Rollins doing funny videos. Brock Lesnar's off to 2K game. And CM Punk quote about the WWE locker room.
Oh no.
I sent this, Joe, because I was seeing some people getting mad about it. Some people like, yeah, man, that's WWE as well about it. And it was just like, I was just sending it to Joe, like, this guy is fucking hilarious. You know, like, he's just.
Yeah.
I can't imagine getting like, all worked up and mad about CM Punk because like I think in situations like this, it's like how can you like just kind of like laugh a bit? You know, it's so like transparent. And it's like you said yesterday. It's like the I can't remember. We weren't even on air actually, but it's like the situation where like you see like on social media, some people being like, "Oh, he's not wearing his wedding ring," he's not wearing his wedding ring, and like that'll go around on that'll go around on Twitter for a bit. Then they'll do like a backstage video of CM Punk getting ready for a match or whatever. And CM Punk has definitely seen what's on social media because he takes his ring off, kisses it, and he's like, oh, I can't lose this. Like, he makes it as clear as possible, like, I've got my ring, I am married, I'm a faithful husband, do you know what I mean? Like, he tried to answer as many questions as he could, or trying to be as subtle as he can without being embarrassing about it,
He's
hilarious, man.
He's one of one, man. He really is. He's yeah. You and I have been in this place with him for a while. Where like, while I am a fan, I'm a big fan, and I love his work. I'm equally stunned by the folks that like, like still think like they still take him like super seriously as this like incredible figure of, this like everything he does is actually like a genius tactical maneuver and such. Like to me, he's just like, yeah, he's a character, It's like remember when the best example, and this was a brutal stretch to cover, by the way, especially as people that like Collision. But when he did the post show thing about Hangman, and the two camps were like, either fuck this guy or you don't get it, bro, he's just telling stories. When the reality was somewhere in the middle of, no, man, he was just saying shit in a post. just doing Punk things, like getting himself in trouble for no apparent reason. So, yeah,
Just
he's
funny guy.
one of one, bro. I love watching him on that wrestling TV show, whatever show it is. He, by the way, I didn't get a chance to say it, but it's that promo, and again, which feels kind of a strange way to phrase it, but like the segment he did on Monday was extraordinary, wasn't it? My goodness, that was a classic.
Tremendous,
Punk promo.
man. Yeah. Especially when the goal of it is to come across authentic. Do you know what I mean? Like as much as we pop for him being full of shit or just being CM Punk or whatever, when the goal in a wrestling sense is to go out there and cut an authentic promo, like who's better? It's CM Punk.
Oh,
man.
he's best. Yeah, he's so capped.
He's masterful.
As a TV character.
He's masterful. Yeah. But the quote was something like this locker room is everything that the business is supposed to be. I'm not upset that I hurt my arm. I'm upset that I have to be away from these remarkable people. It's just
God bless him. Oh.
I think he's a beast, man. He's far from perfect.
Yeah.
He's got his flaws, many of which have been reported on over the past couple of years, but he's fucking hilarious. So that's that. And I guess to close the show, let's show Joe Hall with SGW Uganda, folks.
Yes, let's do this. I have no idea what's waiting me here. I genuinely don't know.
All right, let me pull it up.
Okay. Very excited. Are we doing commentary over this? Is this like a long thing? Or is
no. It's like 30 seconds.
Okay.
I ain't putting you through all that, man. Make sure my DMs don't go up.
Be careful.
All right, how does that look to you? Is that zoomed in? And
Oh my god. Okay, now I have a better idea of what I'm in for. All right, go for it. It looks great.
The caption pops on SGW Uganda may be the best promotion, better than Cody versus Roman. So it's 38 seconds of SGW Uganda. I wish I could give credit to the wrestlers in this piece of
art. Before you hit play, is there any music you should be scared of here? Because I know we've got to be careful with YouTube copyright.
I don't think so.
Okay, cool.
I don't think the sound will play anyway.
All right, cool. Oh my!
Look at the cell, brother.
Shades of Funk there in '89. Oh my goodness!
Oh!
What a maneuver!
He
nailed him with it on the temple too.
Oh!
Was that the old leapfrog spear spot they just busted out there? It looked like
I don't know what they just tried to do, but it looked chaotic and it worked for me.
Oh shit! He's taking it home. Oh my! Oh no, not Crossroads. Oh no! Well, hold on a second. My goodness, that Crossroads cell, brother.
Here we go. I'll pull up that Crossroads again. He takes it like Bud Matt.
Huh? But, man.
Right on the
By the
dome.
way, it was worth noting while we got the Twitter up here. Shout out to the great Hamwork reviews also, who I've only just realised at the end of that video is part of this great scene that's bursting out. So wonderful.
The
I
clip
love
he
to see it.
tweeted was just the one spot, I think. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Listen, to put it on the line, brother. You know.
Wow.
Right.
I've missed all of this.
So
Incredible.
find that
Okay.
tweet, people, if you want to watch the full, because that's the link
Yes.
to
Yeah.
that's one of the links to the full Royal Rumble 2024 results. WWE is the name of the video. So I can imagine a lot of things pop up when you type that in. So you know. Anyway, a couple of super chats, and we're gonna get out of here, people. So very, very, very last chance to get them in because we're finishing in a couple of minutes. So Jizzle $2, appreciate it. Should Mercedes Moné win the AEW title on night 1 in Boston? We talked about that possibility last night. I think you was in the live chat. I don't think it's a terrible idea. I think if Tony's gonna remain your champion and stuff like that, it's like I'll prefer that to them doing an actual program with Tony's current gimmick. So
yeah. Whether she wins, I'm not sure about winning the belt. I'm not against it, but I'm not like. I do think she should wrestle though. To me, that's the value of Mercedes. You know, it's
that
like
is a value.
yeah, it's like her appearing is cool, but if you're gonna do TD Garden, like do a situation. Who's the best person you could find for us to wrestle? Who would be the ideal if it wasn't for the belt? You could have anyone on the AEW roster. Who would be the best first opponent for? My pitch would be.
Go on.
Go on. Where'd you go?
No. You wanted to get
I
that out.
I think I would have Serena winning matches on TV, and then she does the Open Challenge, Boston, and because then the people will know, right? And I think that could be a statement because I think they could have a classic. So that would be my personal suggestion.
Let them go 20 minutes.
Yeah.
See what happens. The Willow match is very enticing because, of course, of what happened.
Yep.
So with Mercedes getting injured, and of course she's going to want to get that lick back. So yeah. Who knows? She might come in as a heel.
She might. I know one thing for sure.
They'll let her get the return part, like the debut pop and everything. But after the initial pop and that, she
does seemingly love being heel too.
She does.
I will say, I think we didn't talk about this, and maybe I missed it, but we talked about a lot of matches for her last night. The Athena one too, right? The Athena one is like right there for you when you want to do it. You just need to get Athena in the ball game on the main roster. Like that match is, they very rarely got a chance to work on the main roster. So yeah, that is quite the matchup right there. That's another one that I think could be a main event anyway. That's tremendous. So.
But yeah, as you said, the value in Mercedes Moné is mainly in her wrestling. I'd say closely followed by her just kind of presence.
Yeah,
just kind of the star power and presence she possesses. But yeah, the wrestling, of course, comes first. With her, she's, as much as I love Mercedes, I'm not rushing to see her cutting live promos and stuff like that.
Right.
She isn't that type of wrestler for me. She's someone that has value in other areas, and I don't really think that's one of her strong points, if I'm being entirely honest. But she's one of the greats, so
yeah,
she's a huge get for the division if it is the case.
If you compare it to like the first dance, for example, where Punk was just going to appear and cut a promo, like Punk had not been on a wrestling show for 7 years. And Punk is also Punk, and the reason we were just discussing, there was this whole thing of what is he going to say. That's a different dynamic. I would do a wrestling match on Mercedes' first night, personally.
Makes a lot of sense, yeah. Will Cheers and $5, appreciate you. CM Punk with tears in his eyes telling Cody Rhodes to finish his story. Pop me. It's going to be real when he helps HBK book NXT.
Helps. He ain't helping anyone, brother. He's running that place. He's going to have the belt over his shoulder in Gorilla. I really do. And again, it's not something I say lightly because but I really do think there's a chance that he ends up with like actual substantial power by the end of everything that's going on. And that is, God, the paths we take, Monty, it's just, wrestling is outrageous, really, isn't it? So it really is. And it's, again, I'm hesitant to even go in that direction because it isn't the point of the story. But it's like CM Punk is just, he came back. Are you aware that when he came back to wrestling, Roman Reigns had already been the champ for a year? He's made like
he's,
4 comebacks
he's
since
only been
then.
back. He's only been back for like
Two,
So
two and a bit.
Edge came back before CM Punk, didn't he?
Yeah.
So
Punk has
you
he's
know,
been like he's made like 3 different comebacks. He's left the promotion,
2 fights.
2 fights that we know of. Yeah,
Yeah.
he's quite the character.
An epic, a legendary media scrum appearance. You know, whether you
One
call
way
it
to
good
put
or
it.
bad, whether you call it good or bad, it was definitely legendary in the
It
sense
will
of like
certainly live
not
forever.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah, like you know, um, he did the dance with Joe. You know what I mean? Yes. I got what I
Which,
needed out of
by
it.
the way, that also feels like a lifetime ago, doesn't it? Like that is not that long ago. That match, brother. It feels like years ago. It's outrageous.
Bro, remember when they locked up in that trios match and that edit came out?
I
You
watched that
remember?
once a day. I think I'm pretty sure. That's Kevin Kelly. Say what you will about him, and most of it is fair. Time Stand Still is an actual all-time great call, and he nailed it. That was perfect the way he called that. Like
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that was special.
Trust the process 34,999. Appreciate it. Another off script internet wrestling community opinion. Hangman getting the number one contender match despite literally just losing twice to Swerve is senseless. What did Swerve even gain from those 2 wins in kayfabe then? Um, I mean, it's a valid point to bring up, and it's like I've said weeks ago, and in fairness, AEW they have been trying to like rectify that because I did say like, yo, Swerve has beat this guy twice. How can you kind of when they were kind of teasing the feud turn into like a 3-way feud between Samoa Joe, Swerve, and Hangman? I was like, how can you like validify like Hangman even being in the room because Swerve's beat you twice, bro? So obviously he needs to build up the wins, and they've been giving him wins. And the Toa Leona match, for as great as it was obvious that he was always going to win that sort of thing. It
All right.
wasn't really like, oh, this is a big win for Hangman. I think he still needs a couple of those before, obviously before they did the match that they're doing next week. But it's one of those things. You just get what you get. They have given him some wins in the time that they're claiming they're doing the rankings from. So it's just it kind of is what it is. They're just, there's issues with the rankings already. So,
Yeah, and that's kind of to me that's always the concern with rankings is they kind of they like highlight the inevitable contradictions of wrestling booking. Like
yes.
on some level they hold wrestling booking accountable. At the same time, I'm not sure that's what wrestling booking should be. Like it's like wrestling's a weird beast. That's why I'm always a little hesitant with them. But I don't think this is like like a particularly like damning example, to be honest. But I do get the point, absolutely.
Hush 199, appreciate it. Triple H foaming at the mouth now for NXT Uganda. That'd be something. Hush 499, appreciate it. This will sound spiteful, but they should redo the Outsider versus AEW storyline again with Mercedes and good wrestlers. Hater, Bros, Steve, etc. I mean, when it's a promotion like AEW that has a
Yeah.
fan base that is so like in on the vision of what the thought the AEW vision was and what it signifies to them and stuff like that. Having the outsiders come in is always going to be somewhat a compelling option that they have, in it. But this time they would have to do it properly. Not
Yeah, I
how
would
they did
avoid
it
it.
before.
I would avoid it, to be honest. I also don't like, even if she comes in a heel, I wouldn't want to frame Mercedes as an outsider. To me, the play with Mercedes is you absolutely victory lap that she's one of she's on AEW's roster now. Like Trina's an outsider, I think it's kind of particularly because remember like the way she left WWE, right?
Yeah, I was
You can
about to say
actually
that.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, it's different. It's a very different vibe. She also hasn't been in WWE now for like quite a while, right? It's not like a Nash or Hall jumping and being there a month later. So, yeah, I wouldn't go that way.
Will Chisholm $5. What would y'all do to help Adam Cole's faction to get hot? Because they feel cold. They set up a storyline with Bullet Club, and nothing's been said. We talked about him a bit yesterday. It's tough for them. Obviously, injuries hasn't helped, and even with MJF getting injured, he's been the main. He's like the main rival of that the reason why that faction got created, and he's not even on TV. The leader of the faction, Cole's injured. Wardlow seemingly just blew his knee, So it's like every every direction they try to take is been tough for them. Then obviously you've got Roddy probably going to win the international title for Orange Cassidy, but considering they came in as a group, started off the world title holder and it being the
Yeah.
world title feud, already feeling as mid card as it does because, of course, the main singles feud in the faction is Roddy and Orange. Is like,
Yep.
it just makes it tough.
Yeah,
Um,
it doesn't really make sense, the suggestion, so I get why anyone would disagree, but I actually think AO was spot on with his instinctual response last night, which is, I don't think Cole should be on TV right now. And I know that sounds insane, but I think it actually hurts more than it helps, I would try and shoot some stuff with him that, like, I don't know, man. It's not his fault he's injured. I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying, like, watching the leader of a heel faction get wheeled out to the ring and, like, I don't think it's helping anyone, It's a really tough dynamic. And the Kingdom and Roddy, God bless them. I like all of them as talents. Obviously, Roddy's one of my favorites, but they were goofs on that show. Just because they were revealed as part of the ruse doesn't mean that people forget that stuff. Like it's just
tough.
there's a lot of it is like kind of self-inflicted wounds, but there's also obviously you said some of the luck is like brutal, especially this Wardlow thing. So yeah, I don't know what the quick fix is there.
Alien Love 999, appreciate you. Mercedes in AEW is important solely because there just aren't any big female free agents to make the fans challenge Tony as a booker in a tangible way. I hope it helps the industry as a whole. Oh yeah, that's been a big thing that we've said for a while, like ever since any sort of possibility of Mercedes going to AEW was a thing, which goes back a long, long time now. It's like if Tony Khan and AEW Creative are bringing in Mercedes, they have to treat the division a certain way and maintain it at a certain level, which obviously is a positive of her coming in and then potentially taking the baton and running with it, and taking the ball and running with it and taking the division to new heights and all this other sort of stuff. When you've got a star like Mercedes Moné, the possibility of women main event in a pay per view becomes a lot more realistic. And there's multiple other things that you can do. Like
Yeah,
even just a speculation and heavily hinting that they're potentially booking the TD Garden with the sell of her being there. Potentially being there is already huge. You know what I mean? Like, how often has that been done? Like, a woman being placed in a position to be the main ticket seller of a wrestling show,
yeah.
especially at one of the top two. So,
I love the point about the industry as a whole too, because now any talent, any female talent that wants to go to AEW or is looking at AEW as an option, Mercedes like brings up, she changes the way it appears now, right? Because now, say you're a big player in the WWE Women's Division, but you're not content for whatever reason, schedule, money, push, whatever. Now, you're not just going over to AEW and hoping for the best. You now have a match set, right? Anyone is a match of note against Mercedes. Like, so it's definitely it's a game changer. It's the kind of piece that just singularly any talent who's thinking about that move, now there's something there. There's like an immediate kind of thing to shoot for
yeah,
because it's a big one. And yeah, that's a game changer. Absolutely, I like the point a lot.
yeah, man. And on that note, people, we're going to get out of here. So, appreciate you guys for tuning in for the past just over 90 minutes with us. Quite a few things to try and navigate through news-wise. I know it was kind of heavy at the start, especially, of course, that's just the way it is with this lawsuit at the moment. So, don't think it's going to be slowing down anytime soon. It's only been like 1 week and a day. It came out last Thursday, the lawsuit did. And there's already been all kinds of twists and turns, federal investigation. John Laurinaitis has seemingly turned on Vince McMahon. He's claiming he's a victim. Uh, Shawn Michaels and Triple H have both been asked publicly about it, and their responses have varied very much so, and all the different reports and stuff like that in between. So, a lot to keep up with, but we try our best. I appreciate you guys for tuning in. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please do make sure you do that. I appreciated all the people who left comments on the video as well, especially the ones who were just like, "Here you go, Montel." It's just like, so do that again. Leave comments. Remember, don't do it in a live chat after the stream goes down. You need to click onto the different tab to leave a comment. So much appreciated always the comments, like I already said. like, subscribe. Appreciate the super chats. Appreciate you guys for tuning in. And we'll be back Friday, tomorrow, I think, for a Collision watch along. So yeah, stay tuned to the Recipe page and we'll keep you updated. Peace.